Oh, hi! This week we're gonna make a Louise Belcher hooded scarf. Eee! And it's a present for one of my favorite people in the whole world, so hi Allison, I hope you like your hat! Sorry it's taken me like 4 years to make this for you. And sorry it's not actually a hat, and it's a hooded scarf, which I seem to not be able to not make. I'm obsessed with them, you guys. Anyways, on to the project. Here's what you need. The main thing you're going to need is some cozy pink fleece, or even pink felt if you want to do a cheaper version of this. This is like very luxurious anti-pill fleece, because I don't skimp on my girl. I do have a hooded scarf pattern. I'm not going to be using it for this because it's just a really long rectangle with a curve at the top. It's not very necessary. You can freehand this onto your fleece, but I decided it was safer to make a pattern for the earpiece. This is going to look ridiculous. I cannot wait. You're also going to need some thick gauge wire. Wish I knew what gauge this was, and I feel like the thicker it is, the less likely you are to stab yourself. But to super make sure this doesn't impale anybody's skull, I'm going to use a hot glue gun just to cover the ends of the wire. You're also going to need some scissors. I also use some pliers and some wire cutters. I need some craft clips or pins, and then matching thread and a sewing machine. There's going to be one fucking complicated step for this that will require my zipper foot for my sewing machine, but you can hand sew during that part. Let's get into the project. So I have 4 strips of fleece. This is about 3 feet long and about 7.5 to 8 inches wide, but make it wider or narrower, your call. So I'm going to face 2 of the panels right sides together. Once the top is pinned, you're going to work your way down the back a little bit. You line it up against your head, or just trace around a hood you already have. Or if you're ballsy like me, just go ahead and make a little curve so it's going to make a hood shape right there. Just like this. You can even take a big plate or something and just trace around that. I'm going to cut that corner off. I'm going to make a little mark down here. That's where the hood is going to stop, and it's going to turn into the scarf part. Then repeat those steps for the other 2 pieces. Use the edge of this one to trace onto the second one. Once you have both pairs clipped or pinned together, and make sure it's right sides together, you're just going to stitch from that mark to the edge of the short end right here. And do that for both. So you're going to take one of them, flip it right sides out, your other one still inside out, and fold them on top of each other. You want to line up the hood seams. Now you're just going to clip along everything. This is going to take a little while. Make sure where those neck marks were made, that those seams are lined up. You can start wherever. Just make a point to leave a gap somewhere so you can turn everything right sides out. Alright, now everything is clipped like crazy. Come join me at the sewing machine, won't you? Oh man, this is a way better angle to show you guys. Why am I just now figuring this out? I'm just going to give myself 1.5 inches or so on either side of this clip. So I'm going to start stitching over here with a little back and forth back stitching, just on a straight stitch setting. Let's do the damn thing. And when you're about to turn a corner, put your needle down, lift up your presser foot, flip it around to the direction you want to be heading, put it back down, and then get back to stitching. Alright, so all that's stitched together. I'm going to clean up some of the edges just a little bit to reduce some of the bulk, especially around the corners like this. I'm not going to go through the seam I just stitched, because that'd be real fucking bad. I'm just going to snip a little wedge out of that corner, so that when I go to turn these corners out, it will pop out at like a nice sharp angle. And do the same for the other corners. You can even cut across them like this if you want. Cram your hand right into that opening and just pull everything through. Oh, it's like that scene in Ace Ventura out of the back of the rhino. While you're in there, go ahead and push the corners out. Oh, that's weird. I don't like that. Go ahead and stitch that shut. I'm actually going to go back around all of those edges to do some top stitching so that it lays flat. Otherwise, it's going to kind of turn in on itself like this. Not a necessary step. As I've said many a time, I just have higher standards for gifts for people than I do for items I make for myself. So while I'm doing all the stitching, you guys go ahead and make your ear templates if you haven't done that already. I know you haven't, because I wouldn't have by this point if I was watching someone else's tutorial. I just shattered my needle in twain. It scared the shit out of me. Well, time to change that. Alright, now that I just about shit my pants when I broke that needle, the hooded scarf part's done! So Allison has a normal size head, so this will fit her better. It's a little shorter than I meant to make it, but I only had so much of this fabric. It's like a little Louise Belcher scarf. At this point, this is essentially a perfectly reversible hooded scarf. It's good, whatever you want to call it. Now it's time to make the bunny ears. You'll have to decide which way you want this to face out. I would suggest whichever side looks less fucked up. Once you pick which side you want to be the outside, I'm gonna put that out of the way for a little bit. Ear time, ear time. Meow, 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 meow. So I have 4 layers of this fleece. I have traced my little pattern onto the top layer, wrong side up, and cut through all the layers. Just keep in mind, because of seam allowance, you're going to want to make the pattern a little bit bigger than the actual ear size you want. Alright, fuck the rotary cutter. We're going with the expensive scissors. I'm going to match these up so I have a pair of fabric sandwiches with no filling apparently. I don't know if calling this a sandwich is the best method. I'm gonna have it right sides together and I'm going to stitch all along this outer edge, but keep the bottom completely open. And do that on both. Now we got a little ease. It's not as difficult as flipping a little tube inside out, like for a strap or something, but this is pretty damn close. Ears have been flipped right sides out. Ooh, so fancy. I'm not gonna do any top stitching yet because it's time to add the wire. What the fuck was that noise? So all I did was took some thick gauge wire, kind of traced the shape around the little cardboard cutout. Pretty easy, pretty pliable. Round pliers helped, but it didn't really take much. It's pretty easy shape. I'm just gonna stuff this in there. We get the point of the wire right at the top here. Clamp it in place. And then you're basically just gonna scooch the wire to the very edge of your ear, making sure everything's gonna keep its shape and so it won't kind of crumple in on itself. Since Lego Boyfriend absolutely spoils me, he got me walking foot for my sewing machine, and that's on there 99% of the time. But for this, I switched to my zipper foot because once you get your wire in there, you're gonna do another round of stitching. It's basically gonna be top stitching, but it's gonna act as a casing to keep the wire in place so it's not moving all over. Oh boy, do I super hope this works. So I have my zipper foot on here. I'm gonna be sewing with the zipper foot pressed right against the wire. This is the wire right here. This bit sticking out. I'm just gonna stitch right along the inside. I'm probably gonna run into trouble at the point, but it's okay if the entire thing doesn't get stitched down as long as most of it is held in place with a casing. Presser foot is down. Just gonna do a straight stitch. Now I couldn't quite get into the corner here, but that's okay. I don't know if you can tell, but look, it's working. Ah! Now when I switched this, I didn't need to keep the needle down because I wasn't continuing the same line of stitching. That's why I did a little back stitching over there. So we're gonna start with some back stitching again here and then just finish this section back down to the bottom. And don't stitch all the way to the end. We're gonna need to have a little opening here, but I'll explain what that's for. All right, and then just repeat that shit on the other ear. And now to attach the ears, I made tiny little pairs of holes right at the top, and I put them pretty close to the center because you want these ears to stand up straight. If you go too far to the side, they're gonna get a little wonky and droopy. So the unsewn part of the bottom, I folded in on itself right here and then pinned it closed. We're gonna be hand stitching that because I don't want to fucks with the sewing machine for that part. I'm gonna take the two wire ends, so the wire should be sticking up on the inside of your hood. I'm gonna take round pliers, bend them at a 90-degree angle so it'll look like this. You're gonna take the very end of it where it's cut and start to spiral it in on itself so it's a little less stabby. You have two little coils like this on the inside. That'll help your ear stand up straight. Now I've threaded a hand needle with some of the matching thread. I'm just gonna stitch the bottom of the ear to this part of the hat. Once that first ear is attached, go ahead and repeat all that shit on the other ear. Look at him! Alright, ready for the last step? We're just gonna take some hot glue, press these things down flush, and I'll just cover them with the hot glue. Don't touch it yet, because you're definitely gonna burn yourself. Holy shit, you guys, this actually worked. The fuck, I didn't think this was gonna happen. Allison, I hope you like this. Even if you don't wear it, it's fine. I won't be offended. If you would like to see an extra silly Princess Leia hooded scarf tutorial, that will be over here. If you'd like to sign up for my Patreon, especially if you do the mail time tier, if you want, I'll fucking send you the Princess Leia hooded scarf. If you just want to hang out for more videos, I post crafting stuff every Saturday, you can subscribe over here. And maybe just because I'm a New Englander, I'm very particular about my cider.